So I did send out the email yesterday, which contained the agenda for today, as well as duties of the standing committees and the SRC committee assignment. So starting with the agenda today, we don't have anybody new, and I don't feel the need to redo the introductions, but for those that don't know, at least myself, my name is Anjali McGugan. I am the SRC chair. I'm also one of the supervisors with RSA. And so if you need anything related to this, you can always reach out and contact me. Um, as far as committee updates for today, I just wanted to share what Andy and I have discussed and how we can start initiating the process of, having the standing meetings for the committees. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have Ms. Charlisa Payne, who's the executive assistant, kind of compare everyone's schedules, and then an invite will follow after she reaches out to you to schedule those meetings. And then we will start having the committee meetings on a more regular basis. So following today's meeting, just look for communication from Charlisa and myself related to when we could potentially schedule those meetings, put the meetings on the calendar. Attached also in the email yesterday was in more or less a summary, or I kind of compiled all of the duties of the standing committees. And so as we've been talking about in the past, the 4 committees that we have are the Consumer Empowerment and Advocacy Committee, the Media and Public Awareness Committee, as well as the Policy Planning and Review Committee and the Nominating Committee. So there is another handout, I guess, that was passed along in that email that had assignments. So if you're not on the assignments, please let me know if you would like to be added. Ideally, we would like to have at least everyone participating that's a part of the council participating in or on a committee. So you do have, if you open that handout, you'll see the chairs, and then part of the chairs, you'll also see other assignments. Again, there's some people that may have not reached out and said that that's the committee they'd like to be a part of, but I kind of took the liberty and looked at the remaining individuals who were not assigned and assigned them. So there's at least 1 chair and then 2 other participating individuals on the assignment list. So that's the updates for the committees. Again, Charlisa will reach out to everyone to try to get a consensus of when people are able to meet, and then we will start putting those dates on the calendar in between our meetings, so that we can ensure that the committee meetings are getting started. And I will also pop in and out of those meetings too, to make sure that we're all on one page. Are there any questions related to that? Okay. If not, as far as the next agenda item is state plan goals and priorities update. During between March 6th, which is when we last met, and today, we were able to provide the state plan goals and updates to the providers, so our agency providers. That was provided in a provider meeting that was held on April, I believe it was April 18th. And so the providers were notified of the updates, and then we have also shared the updates for the state plans with the VR supervisors, and so that they have been made aware. And as we move forward into May and June, this information or the state plan updates will also be shared with the community during the community forum, and they will also be shared with our VRCs or our VR counselors. So that will be happening with in between time between now and our next meeting. So other than that, those are the updates that I have. If there's not any questions, I will move to the director's updates and let Andy provide those for you all.
Angela, may I ask you a question? How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Two questions. You talked about the state plan goals and updates. Are you talking about within the WIOA state plan?
Yeah.
Andy, I just wanted to make sure. I know that, Andy, am I correct? Are we fully approved or still temporarily? Our state plan?
We are fully approved.
Okay.
Part of our plan that was approved was that we were going to submit an amendment July 2025 regarding the goals.
In July 2025?
Nothing else is due from any of the other partners for another year.
Oh, okay.
Where you were going. This is just in the VR portion of the plan, in the one section of our plan. It was supposed to be informed by the comprehensive statewide needs assessment, which was not completed prior to the date the plan was due. So once it was completed, we then updated the goals. So that's just our part of the plan. And we'll be asking Department of Ed to reopen that part of the plan so that we can revise it July 1.
July 1. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. And then the document you shared with us, so 1 second, I have it. And forgive me if I missed it. Was there a final version disseminated of the VR state plan goals and priorities? Was there a final? Because I know I have the version that has the big draft on it. Was there a final version to this?
We're not at final yet. So the draft that you have is the same draft we're sharing with each of the various groups.
So, okay, good. So we're still using the draft. Wonderful. And then the last question, and I'm asking these questions, and thank you, Angela, for detailed descriptions of the standing committees and the chart. Just wanting to make sure that as we think about our roles on the committee, that I have the final versions of the documents for consideration. And then the last thing is the articles X of the bylaw. Where are those located?
I'm sorry, you went out. If you just repeat what you said, because it might have been on my side, but I didn't hear the whole question.
The bylaws, were those disseminated to us, or Andy, are they on the website?
If I am not mistaken, the policy committee was working on updating the bylaws. We didn't have a fully constituted policy committee. We can share what we have. We have a scanned copy of the bylaws that we currently have, which were written on a typewriter at ULS. So we did. But the SRC policy committee was working on updating those. But now that we have a fully constituted SRC, they'll be able to put that on their agenda when they meet.
Okay. Thank you. So the SRC policy committee will update the bylaws, but for right now, you can share with us a scanned copy of what you have, correct?
Sure.
Okay. The only reason I was bringing it up for the nominating committee, which I'm on, we're supposed to develop a method of elections consistent with Article Article 10 of the bylaws. So I just want to make sure I had that. I wanted to go ahead and get a jump on thinking about what to bring to the table. So I appreciate you, Angela, and you too, Andy, getting us that information. Thank you.
Okay. And I got your message, Allison. I was just reading that. No worries. Okay, if no other questions, Andy, I'll let you go ahead with your updates.
Thank you. I just have a couple of items. So I'll start with the marginally good news. Actually, I'll start with the very good news, which is the Department of Education gave out cost of living increases to all VR state agencies. And so what that means is that we actually got a bump in our allotment of close to 10%. So our VR grant has been, our last year's VR grant was 15.9 million. And this year it has been increased to 17.5 million, which is wonderful. And it may mean we don't need reallotment. One of the things that I learned is that many states are unable to accept that cost of living increase, which is sad, because they have to have adequate match in order to match the increase from the federal government. And these states currently, their local contribution is like equal to the match amount. Ours historically had been about twice the required amount, so match has never been an issue for us. We've had some reductions in the VR local budget in the last few years, but we still don't have a problem with meeting that increased match. It also means an increase in our pre-employment transition services obligation because 15% of the grant has to be reserved for those services. And it's about a $1.5 million increase. So, you know, that's 15% of that is about $225,000, I think. On the issue of dealing with the federal government, people may be aware that the Department of Education is undergoing some challenges currently, in that they're trying to take it apart. You know, by executive action, they seem to be trying to shut it down, as opposed to, you know, it is a legislatively created agency. However, what's interesting for people who read Project 2025, there was no reference to the VR program being in the Department of Education in all of the Project 2025 materials. It's as though they didn't even know it existed. So there were layoffs at the Department of Education, pretty significant reduction in force there that did not touch they did not touch the VR program. So it has remained intact within the Department of Education. The expectation is that Department of Education may still go away. If it does, there was discussion among all of the states in the Council of State Administrators for Vocational Rehabilitation about what that organization's recommendation would be regarding where the vocational rehabilitation program should land. We were asked to comment and given two choices. One would be that it would go to the Department of Labor, which currently includes ODEP, the Office of Disability Employment Programs, or policy, which is a very small office within labor. And the other possibility was that it would go to HHS, Health and Human Services, I guess with the idea that they would just put back together what existed when some of us, although not many people on this call, were young, which was the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. I believe unanimously the states agreed that they would prefer to move over to labor. HHS, I will tell you from the other half of my life here at DDS, not a good place to be right now. So, and you know, the emphasis on work, like VR is all about getting people to work. It really sort of makes sense. Many of the states do have their programs within their labor agency in the state. So, so to the extent it does move, we're expecting that it would likely move to the Department of Labor. No update on when something like that might happen, but I have been pleased that so far everything we have seen has been that the VR program has been left alone. There seems to be support for it within this administration at least. So that that's a positive thing. People may be aware of the challenges with the district's budget, the overall district's budget currently, where Congress took, after approving our FY25 budget last summer, when they passed their continuing resolution in March, included in, was it March or February? Anyway, when they passed their continuing resolution to keep the federal government funded, the House included in their continuing resolution a provision that required the district to revert to its FY24 budget. And then they promptly left town. And the only way that the Senate could keep the government open was to pass the House version of that bill, which they did. But then separately, they immediately pivoted and passed a bill that would return the district's funds, FY25 funds to it. And we have been waiting for the House to act on that. First, the House did, after they returned to session, they didn't act on it. They took their spring recess. They returned to session this Monday. They have still not acted on it. And because of the House's inaction, the mayor was very concerned about this year's budget in the district, because if the House doesn't act, we have a hole of at least $1.1 billion in this year's budget. And so because of that, the district is taking some pretty drastic steps to rein in expenditures in the event the House doesn't pass this, or at the very least in the interim, while the House can, I don't know what I would say. I mean, I don't know what, there are people in the House who only want to pass a bill that will also include some swipe at the district. Even though there's already language, other places in legislation that prohibits the district from utilizing its own funds to allow people to terminate a pregnancy, the House wants to put that in this, which would then make the bill be different from the Senate's and would require the Senate to vote on it again. There's been mention by my favorite legislator from the 1st Congressional District in Maryland, who has proposed that if the district budget is funded, it shouldn't include the mayor's office of gay, lesbian, transgender affairs. Like, you know, you're going to hold back $1.1 billion because of an office that has 3 people. So, so anyway, they are still not moving forward with this. And because of this, the mayor issued an order on April the 15th. And in order to sort of put some limits on district spending and ensure that we were not anti-deficient this year, it is a public document. I can share this with everyone. I'll share the bylaws in this document as soon as this meeting's over. But for our purposes, what it means is, for one, there's a freeze on hiring of new employees. And a freeze on contract, on purchase. Freeze on pay raises, promotions, bonuses, and a freeze on purchase of supplies, materials, equipment. The thing is, part of the freeze is a freeze on pre-encumbered and unencumbered. And so where we had funds already on a PO, we were good. The problem is where we need to add funds to the PO, we need to seek a waiver from the mayor's office. And so there's also provisions in the mayor's order for how we seek a waiver. We submitted all of our documents, all of our requests for waivers to get us the necessary increases in our purchase orders that we'll need for the rest of the fiscal year. We submitted that last Wednesday. We are hoping to hear soon about a word on these waiver requests. I mean, our document, and we are, we're considered a medium-sized agency, but we're still small. In some respects, our document was long enough. So they are having to go through waiver requests from every agency in the district government, both about purchasing services, purchasing goods, and any hiring of staff. And so, you know, I'll share the documents so that people are aware where things stand. My hope is that Congress will finally act and that relieves some pressure. We are generally okay. There are some specific employee positions that are pending that we would like to be able to hire for. We do need permission to fill some of our, we have some VR counselor positions. We also, consistent with our new goals and objectives in the state plan, we have a VR training position. We have a deputy director position. And all of those are with the Office of the City Administrator awaiting approval. So I can't speculate about the time frame within which those approvals will be granted. At this time, no real impact on services for RSA. And I think that's all I have. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. All right, that is really all that we had on the agenda for today. I did leave room for if there's any other announcements or if there's any other items that anybody would like to address or comment on. Now would be the time. So please feel free to unmute and do so if you have anything else to add.
Quick question, just in the past, or what is the expectation for this for committees? How often are they meeting? Is it monthly? Is it once before our quarterly meeting? Like, what is the expectation, or then, you know, for how frequent?
I would say that maybe 1 to 2 times, you know, between our next meetings. So we do it kind of every other month. But I think that would be enough time to kind of get things where you would need to discuss and then maybe have a follow-up meeting prior to coming to the group's meeting, which is what we're having today. And then if, you know, if the committee feels like there needs to be more meetings, and certainly there, I would say that that would be possible. You're able to do that.
I also have a question relative to the tasks that each committee has been will be focusing their efforts on. Is it the expectation that this body of work um, is to be completed prior, like by the end of June? Is this work going to be part of the update that needs to be made by July 1? Andy?
No. The work that each committee is doing, no, that's separate from where we are with this.
Okay. And Angela, do we have, is there a specific time frame by which the work is to be completed? The tasks that we're all being charged to do to the committee?
I would say not necessarily a time frame, but rather to see progress. There may be some things that, we've worked, such as like updating the bylaws. That may not be a task, that might be a task that may take some time to update and may go over into, into the next year or planning year. And so I think that some tasks may have that where it's have the ability to be completed, whereas others may kind of just spill over, but we just need to make sure, that documentation is there and, that it's easy to kind of follow the footsteps of what was left.
Are you considering establishing like a OneDrive for all of the committees to part specific?
Yeah, that's something
aspects
that I
of
think
the
we can look into. I'm not opposed to it. I actually, maybe not necessarily the OneDrive, but I've had some experience working with Smart Sheets, and I feel like the Smart Sheets are really good. I personally need to do a little bit more training in that to learn how to use it efficiently, but it does provide in case somebody's out or somebody goes on on an extended period of leave, the information is there as long as the documentation has been, kept.
Okay. So, because we have separate at Aussie on our side,
Mm.
we're able to have a drive. Our sub-recipients have the ability to access. So I think it would be good. It might be wonderful to have a single place where we can see, you guys can see what we're
For
doing.
sure. For sure.
And I appreciate that.
Any other comments today?
Yes. Hi, Anjali. Just one quick note. Is there any way you could write up just like a general overview of committee meeting timeframes just so we can send it out? I know we have a few people who are missing today.
Yeah. So this has already been what I sent, what I reviewed today was already sent in an email yesterday. And then following today, Charlisa will send out another, I guess, request for your times, or at least availabilities. And that will go out to all committee members, even those, or council members, even those who are not here today.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
No worries.
This is Allison with the DD Council. I have a question that I feel like I should know the answer to already, but does anyone have information about how the SRC collaborates with the State Independent Living Council? Are there people that are appointed on both of those bodies? Is there any kind of mandated collaboration or opportunities for collaboration there? Like, how do these two bodies work together? How are they similar? How are they different?
Do you want me to answer that,
Please.
Angela?
Please.
So there is a member who is not here today. So a mandated member of the State Rehab Council is a representative from the State Independent Living Council, and that is George Aguirund. And he is not here today, and is supposed to be. And as you know, the the mandate for the statewide independent living council is much broader in many respects than the state rehab council. This council is to provide input to me regarding vocational rehabilitation services in the district. It's got a list of things. I can go over all, but and to do its own assessment of the quality of our services, to do an annual report about the services. The statewide independent living council is like an independent separate agency that has its own state plan for independent living. And they have a number of goals that they've established that are really much more about integrating people with disabilities into the community than specifically at all about employment. In fact, there's very little in their state plan, I think, that relates specifically to employment. But you raise an interesting point because I'm going to call you separately because I think it would be good to have a representative from the DD Council on the statewide independent living council. I'm not on the SILC, by the way, but I do think it might be helpful to have someone from the DD Council on the SILC.
Yeah, definitely. I'm willing to explore that. Thank you for the overview. I want to get a better handle on how all of that works.
Yeah, because there are so many, because there's also the commission of persons with disabilities. I forget exactly what it's called. That is also in your office, right? Yeah,
the commission is similar to the SRC in the sense that the commission is kind of like the advisor to the Office of Disability Rights. So yeah, there's a lot of boards with similar missions, but some differences on the specifics.
Andy, how were states provided the opportunity to have a say in the recommendation as to which agency should have this function if the U.S. Department of Education is dissolved? How did you guys get an opportunity to do that?
Well, I don't know where it went. So the Council on State Administrators for Vocational Rehabilitation does advocacy on behalf of all the state agencies. And so they needed to make sure that they were advocating consistent with the positions of all the member states. And fortunately, there was consensus about this question. Because I know that like for NASDs, the other side of my life, the National Association of State Directors of Developmental Disability Services, they don't have that kind of unanimity amongst all the states. There are states that are, there are state DD agencies whose position is we support any changes that the federal government makes regarding Medicaid, because that has to be their position. Even though for many of us it will gut services for us, but their official position is that. So NASDs has a challenge in trying to advocate, whereas fortunately CSABR has been advocating the unanimous, the consensus position of all states, which is that it would make most sense to be in labor. And we assume they'll go along with that.
Yeah, I like you said, for the I didn't read all of Project 2025. I read some sections relative to our side, at Education for Aussie, and where different pieces. I mean, based on the U.S. Department of Ed, where those roles would go, and the recommendation is also for career and technical ed, adult ed, higher ed, all of that to go to labor. As well. That would be interesting to see. Much to what you were suggesting, recommendation for those of us who are preparing individuals work and careers and post-secondary ed, somehow or another function together But even if they make those changes at the federal level, do you think that the organization is going to advocate? Do you think that it will be a rippling effect at the state level? Or would it be possible for state agencies to remain intact, irrespective of where the federal funding comes from, right? So do you think that's going to happen? States that state agencies will stay intact, even if they start combining everything together at the federal level? Or you think it might be a rippling effect on?
I've given up trying to speculate. They
Okay,
have been more creative than I could have anticipated.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, so if there is nothing else, we will follow up with sending out the information that we talked about today. Andy has already sent one email, so that should already be in your email in your inboxes. And then I will follow up in regards to the certificate, and just be on the lookout for invites or messages related to committee meetings. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know. Our next meeting, give me 1 second. I just want to make sure. Our next meeting that we have on the calendar is July 3rd. So you guys should, and that invite has already been sent out. So if you don't have that, let me know and I'll forward that to you. Otherwise, I hope you have a great afternoon, and thank you for joining us today.
Quick question.
Mhm.
I will be there on July 3rd, but do you think
Us,
that might be a better challenge for attendance?
it could be, it could possibly be. And so I might need to get with Andy just to propose another date. So in light of that, there may be a change.
Okay.
But either way, we will confirm.
Okay, sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you,
The
Susan.
problem was when we first thought about pushing it back a week, we thought, people might leave town on the 4th and stay gone the whole next week. So we might want to do a doodle poll to see what works for the most people.
That makes sense.
Taking notes, Charlize?
I literally just grabbed my pen.
All right, thank you all. And again, we'll follow up regards to the scheduling of the next meeting. Have a great one.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you all. Thanks.